Hello, and welcome to the Punta Cana version of Out of Curiosity with Mz.ChiGurl. And I'm your host, Mz.ChiGurl. I'm sorry. I'm just getting pumped for tonight to tell you guys my story about my trip to Punta Cana this past weekend. I did the 30th through the 2nd. So I just got back. Wait, today is Tuesday. So I just got back almost 2 days ago. Yeah. So let's talk about it. So honestly, it was a freaking emotional roller coaster. First of all, I'm gonna just let you know I'm a little lit because I decided the drinks in Punta Cana weren't given. So I decided to try and make them give at home. So this is a rum punch. I already had two. So I just did little bit, just a little bit. And so I got, a little more to go. And hopefully I won't be slurring my words by the end of this. But I felt I needed this to kind of get me in the flow of things. Also, I kind of want to show you guys my outfit today. I didn't get to wear it in Punta Cana. And so it's one of those like crochet things. Hey. Anyway. And I'm wearing black shorts in Punta Cana. I couldn't believe how hot it was. When we first landed, first of all, I left Chicago at 5 in the morning. And so like I left for the airport like at 3 in the morning Chicago time. And so I was wearing a jogging suit. I did wear a coat. So I wore a short coat and everything, but long story short, it was comfortable. And then when I was on the plane, it was cold and this and that and the third. But when I landed in Punta Cana, oh my God, I was sweating. Like I think I had sweat stains all in my jogging suit. And so um it was a lot for me. Also I'm gonna set the stage for you. Let's go back a little bit. I'm gonna set the stage for you. So don't know why. I've never been this last minute as far as packing. And so I didn't pack until that night. And also, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a nap early in the day. So I'm trying to match, the schedule that I'm going to be on for the plane. So I took a nap in the middle of the day. Then I got up and started packing. Then I took another nap after I did a nice amount of packing because my problem is I overpack because like I'm trying to anticipate everything. And so when the hurricane took place, what was it? Hurricane Melissa took place in Jamaica, and prayers to those who went through that. It seemed like it was a very horrible situation that's really going to impact that area for years to come. And so prayers to those who had any issues, lost a family member or so forth. And so because of that, I was like, I might get some remnants of that storm. And so I said, I need to pack some clothes for rain as well as the sun. And so I had all my maxi dresses and, I packed shorts and stuff, stuff for heat. But then I'm like, okay, I got to pack for the sun. So I already overpack. I typically take 3 bags, and 1 bag is shoes, and the 2 bags are clothes and my products and all that stuff. And I don't know, I think I've talked about it, my anxiety and everything, but I'm really like one of those people who, if I don't have everything I need to make me comfortable, it makes me, I don't know, I freak out. I'm like one of those kids, if they don't have their teddy bear, they freak out. Yeah, that's me. If I don't have whatever it is that I need at that time, I freak out. And that's just always been me. And so that's why I kind of overpacked. But I was like, I can't do this no more. It was a lot traveling with all this stuff, especially because I went by myself. So I haven't traveled by myself since I was in my 20s. And sidebar, that trip was I went to the Cincinnati Music Festival for my birthday, which is in July, for those of you who know me. And the headliners were R. Kelly, Luther Vandross, Brandy. Let me see, who else was it? Because it was 3 days. So Friday was Maze and Luther Vandross, and I don't know, somebody else. Then the next day was like my generation. And so it was Brandy, SWV, R. Kelly. He was the headliner. And then Sunday is usually like gospel and blues and stuff like that. And so I didn't stay for the Sunday show. And I went with a traveling group. And I wasn't supposed to be going by myself, by the way. I was supposed to be going with one of my childhood friends. And I guess I should have known it. Because she was a childhood friend of mine, she has always been unreliable. And so I should have known that she wasn't going to go. And so, because I asked two of them, one of them said that she wasn't going to be able to do it. And the other one said she would, but she was going to have to make payments. And I had gotten my tax refund and saved it for this trip. And so I paid mine in full. And so it was non-refundable. She waited till the week before we were supposed to go on the trip to say that she didn't have the money to go on the trip. And so I was going to be traveling by myself, and I was supposed to be sharing a room with her. And so the travel agent wound up having like pity on me and was like, you can have a room by yourself, because she had to pay a deposit. So she just didn't get her money back. So anyway, my mother is like overprotective. I'm her only child, and so she was like, no, you can't go. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm going. I paid. And she was like, I'll give you the money back. And I'm like, no, I'm going. I'm 22. Or actually, I was going to be 22. So I was 21 going on 22 to go on this trip. Anyway, I had an amazing time. At that time, like I said, I was in my 20s. And I was traveling with people who were in their 40s. And the people in their 40s partied harder than I did. And maybe that's also because, like, I have this thing, like, I don't know you. This is part of my name. I turn into the shy girl. I'm not talking much, I'm not participating. I'm not necessarily in the conversations unless somebody pulls me in. And so that was really it. They were partying and I'm just like, oh, okay, but I had a good time listening to the music. So I enjoyed myself immensely for it to be my first trip by myself. So this is my second trip by myself now at 51. Ever since then, if I wasn't going with friends or whatever, I was always going somewhere with family. So I went by myself on this trip. I was trying to go with the Funky Bunch. And so for those of you who may or may not know, there's a YouTuber called Funky Dineva, also, or AKA Quentin Latham. He's been on YouTube for years. He used to do all the basketball, what's it called? Basketball Wives series. He did all the Love and Hip Hops. He did Love and Marriage Huntsville, all of that stuff. And so I've actually known about him for years, since Love and Hip Hop. And I guess he's grown a following. Oh, and he did TGIF. That was canceled 2 years ago now. He was one of the original people. It was him, Claudia from Atlanta Housewives, and then Al Reynolds, who is the ex-husband of Star Jones. Anyway, so, I was watching him on there, and I think that's when I learned about his Funky Bunch, as well as, the trips that he started to curate, where people were traveling and stuff. And so he's been doing cruises, and I decided I don't necessarily like cruises. I went on one cruise and I got seasick. I wasn't feeling it, but anyway, so like I was gonna make an exception this year. One of my friends was celebrating her 50th birthday this year, and I was gonna go, but then with everything with my surgery, my mother, and then losing my job, it just didn't happen. And so then how this trip came about was the Funky Bunch. He decided to do one that was at a resort that was on land as opposed to being on the cruise. And so I was interested in going, but I was like, with everything that was going on, I didn't want to commit to a trip. And so, like, I initially had a trip planned for Cabo, and I wound up canceling that trip because that was scheduled in May. But I scheduled that trip for two reasons. One was my health, and then two was my mother got sick. So that trip got canceled. So when I found out I was being laid off in August, they told me I was getting a package. I said I had such a crappy year. I was like, F this. I'm going on this trip. So I reached out to the travel agent, and they were booked up and everything. And so I told her my story. I was just laid off, and I was like, I really need to go on this trip. Is there anything I could do? And so it took a while for her to get back to me. But eventually, because I'm impatient, I looked up the resort, and so I booked directly with the resort because the resort had a sale and they were offering, various amenities that I thought were cool. Like for one, like the Funky Bunch was the trip included. It was like 1,500, and it included, other activities as well as a free gift bag and a T-shirt. And then if I went through the resort, it was like 1,800, and mind you, that 1,500 didn't include airfare. And so then my trip with when I booked directly through the resort, I was going to have an ocean view in a junior suite. It was going to be $800, and it included a $600 credit or resort credit. And so I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm taking this deal. So I booked a trip. And then because I I had purchased a airfare earlier this year to go to Cabo, I canceled it, and so I had a credit, but the credit was only good until November because that's, I guess, when I purchased the tickets for Cabo San Lucas was in November, so it was good for a year. And if I didn't use it, I was going to lose my money. That was another reason why I wanted to book the trip. And so the plane tickets to Cabo were like 600, but because the tickets to Cabo San Lucas were like 300, I had a $300 credit, and then I just added 300 more to it. So roughly I paid $1,100. And I was like, that's perfect, for somebody who's now unemployed and everything. And so I was like, I'm doing this. And so I was like, if I don't get to hang with the Funky Bunch, then maybe I'll run into them because I'm on the same resort. I'm going at the same time they're going. And so that's actually what happened. But back to the story at hand. I forgot what song that was. I think that was rap. I'm sorry. Anyway, so I decided to go on this trip, and I was like, I need a vacation, especially once my stepfather died, which you guys knew about rather, and dealing with my step-sibs and dealing with the nonsense with looking for a job, and then my mother's health issues. I was just like, I need to get away. And so let's just get it away. That's a Johnny Gill song anyway. No, it was run away, not get away. Anyway, so I booked the trip, and like I said, so I don't know. Actually, I take that back. So fast forward. We're getting closer to the date for me to go. And so I've been telling the doctor about an issue I've been having with my since my operation. And so we had some x-rays and tests done. And so we found an issue. And so basically, 2 days before my trip, I found out I'm going to have another procedure. And so I don't know if that was it or what, but something just like really, it brought a lot of anxiety to my body. And it was like, it was a lot and it was hard for me to focus. And I just couldn't get my ish together, honestly, y'all. And so that's why it took me so long to pack. And I got to figure out, how I'm gonna have this procedure, because right now, like I said, I'm laid off, so I'm paying for Cobra. It's only good for 6 months. Also, it would behoove me to have the surgery before the end of this year, because I've already hit all my deductibles, so I wouldn't have to pay anything. But if I have to roll it into next year, then I'm going to have to pay for the surgery, and I'm unemployed. So I don't have money to pay for another procedure. And so that was kind of, I guess, bothering me right before the trip. And I just couldn't get like to a place of peace. So fast forward to the day that I'm actually going on the trip. And I went to sleep, like, let's say 11. I was trying to go to sleep, and I set my alarm for 2 o'clock a.m. and I didn't fall asleep till maybe 12:30, and then my alarm went off at 2 a.m. So I'm sleepy. I'm trying to get all the things done that I didn't get done before I went to sleep. And then I get a notification from Uber that my driver arrived, and he arrived early. But it was actually a good thing. It wasn't like he was super early. He was just like 5 minutes early. And so he was going to wait for me anyway because he got there early. And so then I had to wake up my son. Please help me with my suitcases. I can't carry all these suitcases. Why? And then this is the funny thing. My son's like, why do you need all of these suitcases? He said, when I took my trip, I took one bag. And I was like, well, you're not me, and this is what I need. So I didn't have a chance to eat before I left. And so I think I took like my vitamins and my medication and everything. And that's all I had before I got on the plane for the trip. So um get to the airport. I'm there early. Everything is going great. The flight left on time, no issues. I'm on the plane. I go to sleep, and next thing I know, we're in Baltimore, because I had a one stop, or a layover, one layover rather, and it was in Baltimore. And then from Baltimore to Punta Cana, everything was on track. There were no delays. And so I was there less than an hour. And so the only thing I had time to do was go to the bathroom. I didn't have time to get anything to eat again. And so I got on the plane, and then next thing I knew, I'm in Punta Cana. And then I'm in Punta Cana, and like I said, it was hot as hell. And I just was not expecting that. Like, I looked up the temperature and it said the 80s. But this was the problem. The problem was the freaking humidity was 93 freaking percent, which of course means that 88 ain't 88. 88 is more like 90, 100. So I'm wearing a freaking sweatsuit and jacket and got all this crap with me. And so I'm just irritated. And so because of my injury, I have to use the wheelchair service. And so I'm using the wheelchair service. And so the guy is, driving me around the airport. And he's like, how are you getting to the hotel? But that's not how he's saying it. They speak Spanish, of course, in Punta Cana. And so I'm trying to tell him, and I'm like, you speak English? And he was like, a little bit. And he said, you speak Spanish? And I said, un poquito. And so I'm like, a little bit too, And he laughed, and I was like, yeah. And so Anyway, we were trying to navigate the whole, not being able to communicate, I guess, exactly or that well with each other. And it was fine when it was with him, but then when I got to the transportation place that was supposed to be taking me to my resort, these mugs didn't speak any English. And so he's trying to translate for me, and he speaks a little English. And I pull out, so this is just me, so you guys know. I'm gonna have a backup. I'm gonna have a folder. It's gonna have everything I need printed out, as well as, have everything in my phone. And so I'm pulling out, I'm like, okay, here's my reservation with my information, with your place. And so I give it to him. It has my confirmation number, it's my name, because that's what he wound up telling me, is that they said that they didn't see my name on the list. I'm like, what? I'm like, I printed this out last night. I'm giving it to him. So eventually, because the woman just stopped talking to me and just talking to dude, and I'm like, no, I got questions. I need to get in on this conversation. So I pull out my phone and do Google Translate. And so I'm typing the English, and then I play it so that they can hear the Spanish. And so she's telling me that my freaking reservation wasn't made until yesterday, and that it wasn't confirmed. And I'm like, oh, yes, it was confirmed. I'm like, here's the confirmation, and she was like, I was supposed to make the reservation 2 days ago. And I'm like, I tried. And so I'm showing her the email trail. The link didn't work. So you guys didn't get back to me until the day before. And so then I made, the payment, and I got the confirmation. And so she was like, well, no, that's not how it works. They need a confirmation 24 hours in advance. If they don't have a confirmation, then I have to wait. And so I'm like, well, how long do I have to wait? And all of this is being done through Google Translate. And so she's telling me I got to wait 24 hours, which would be another 6 hours from the time that I landed. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm not waiting no 6 hours here. By this time, I think I was at an hour and a half, and I'm tired, I'm hot, and I'm trying to get to my room. And so she was like, I was like, talking to the guy who was helping me. And I was like, well, tell them, can I get a refund? I'll go through another place. And so she was like, no refund. I'm sorry, but I was pissed. What you mean, no refund? And she was like, because, I should have done it earlier, and this, that, and the third. Okay, whatever. And so I didn't ask for a supervisor, because I'm like, what good is it if I get a supervisor if they don't speak English? And so I didn't even bother doing it. But thank God a supervisor did come. The supervisor saw my reservation, and he was like, basically, he took the paper and was like, she's cool, got me a driver, and I was gone within 30 minutes. And I was like, oh my God. So just side note, even if you don't speak English, ask for, or if they don't speak English, rather, ask for a supervisor, because it still works. I'm sorry. I'm just crying up because I was like, as soon as he came, everything was copacetic. And I was, on my way to the hotel. I spent 90 minutes with this heifer going back and forth about my freaking reservation. And like I said, I'm giving her the paper, got the reservation number, everything. But she's talking about, no, I gotta wait 24 hours, and was gonna try to make me wait there another 4 hours. And I was like, that was some bullshit. I was about to, I was like, F this, and just go on my way. But whatever. So that was my experience at the airport.